Have you ever been completely certain about a memory, only to find out it never happened that way? Maybe you remember Pikachu with a black tip on its tail, or the Monopoly man wearing a monocle. Both are wrong, yet millions of people swear they remember them that way. This strange phenomenon has a name, the Mandela Effect, and it raises one big question. Are we just misremembering? Or is reality itself slipping through the cracks? A term, Mandela Effect, was coined in 2009 by Fiona Broome, a paranormal researcher and author. She realized that many people, herself included, remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. Some even recalled vivid news coverage of his funeral. But in reality, Mandela was released in 1990 and became South Africa's president in 1994. He passed away only in 2013. When Broome shared this confusion online at the DragonCon convention, she discovered thousands of people had the same false memory. This collective misremembering sparked the birth of what we now call the Mandela Effect. Over the years, the Mandela Effect has exploded across the internet, especially in communities like Reddit and TikTok. Some of the most famous examples include the Berenstain Bears. Many grew up reading about the Berenstain Bears, spelled with ein, but the correct spelling has always been Berenstain with ein. Looney Tunes. A lot of us recall it as Looney Tunes, which seems logical for a cartoon, but officially it's Tunes. Fruit of the Loom logo. Countless people insist the logo used to feature a cornucopia behind the fruit. In reality, it never has. Star Wars. Fans often quote Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." The actual line, as confirmed in The Empire Strikes Back 1980, is just, "No, I am your father." What's striking is not just that people misremember, but that huge groups misremember in the same way. So what's really going on? Psychologists suggest several explanations. Memory reconstruction. Human memory isn't like a video recording. Psychologist Frederick Bartlett first showed in the 1930s that memory works more like a story. We reshape every time we recall it. Confabulation. Sometimes, when we don't remember something clearly, the brain fills in the gaps with what feels right, even if it's false. Schema theory. We rely on mental shortcuts or schemas to make sense of the world. For example, many assume the Monopoly man has a monocle because of rich cartoon characters, like Mr. Peanut, often do. Misinformation effect. Research by Elizabeth Loftus in the 1970s and 1980s showed that people's memories can be altered by hearing others recall events differently. In one famous study, Loftus and Palmer, 1974, participants' memories of a car accident changed depending on whether the word hit or smashed was used in the question. Loftus also demonstrated how false memories can be implanted, like convincing someone they were lost in a shopping mall as a child, even when it never happened. The Mandela Effect also highlights how culture shapes memory. For instance, media repetition can cement misquotes. Darth Vader's "Luke, I am your father" was never said, but it's been parodied so often that it feels authentic. Similarly, the Berenstain Bears spelling looks unusual, so our brains correct it to the more familiar ein. In short, the Mandela Effect is less about broken memory and more about how our brains try to make sense of patterns and expectations. Of course, not everyone accepts the psychological explanation. Some lean toward more unusual ideas. Parallel universes. The most popular theory suggests that Mandela Effect memories come from alternate realities. In one universe, Mandela really did die in prison, In another, the Monopoly man really had a monocle, and somehow people have slipped between them. Simulation hypothesis. Others claim we're living in a simulated reality, a concept explored by philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003. In this view, Mandela effects might be glitches in the matrix, where the code changes slightly and only some people notice. While these theories lack scientific proof, they add to the mystery that makes the Mandela effect so captivating. So is the Mandela effect proof of alternate timelines or just a trick of the human mind? Science leans toward memory errors and cultural influence, but the eerie feeling remains. When millions of people share the same false memory, it's hard not to wonder if something bigger is at play. At the end of the day, the Mandela effect forces us to question the one thing we usually take for granted, our memory, and it shows that reality isn't always as solid as we think. What's your favorite Mandela effect? Do you swear you remember something that apparently never existed? Share it in the comments. We'd love to hear which version of reality you're living in.